Bangers Thursday phone in back on a Thursday because, well, for reasons we shan't go into. But we are here. It's 8 o'clock or just after eight, and it's a Thursday night, so we're back in our rightful place. And well, we've got a game on Sunday to talk about where we drew with St Mirren. Bit of controversy in there, some refereeing decisions that may or may not have been correct. And we had a transfer window that closed through the week with a deal missed out on and another one over the line. Ian, you were first on tonight, so I'll start with you. Where do you want to kick us off?
I just utterly miserable after I was so disappointed at the weekend after such a high of being at Warsaw. It was exactly the game that everyone expected St Mirren to play, and it's the same as so much of last season and this season against lesser teams, the teams that should be beaten. Loads of chances, but poor finishing. St Mirren, as we expected, just played long balls all the time. And we got our tactics wrong. We tried to play long balls into the channel, and the only way to beat St Mirren is to get behind the defence, get to the byline, and that's the best way to beat St Mirren. But that said, I mean, it looks like again we couldn't hit a barn door. We had 4 shots on target, so obviously for that you would only expect one goal. But then again, Sleggy at home, we only had 2 shots on target, but we had 11 in the away leg. But when Boyle hit the byline and Hoylett missed that open goal right at the start, I just thought, oh my God. I mean, that would have changed again the game completely, just like at Legia when O'Hara had his toe poke. But Hoylett missing that open goal is just incredible. Mulligan, because obviously the expectation was that Hoylett would be just as sharp as Bowie. Mulligan missed that target, that shot across the goal quite near the end, the sort of shot that Chris Cadden would, I think, at least have hit the target with. And obviously Bowie had quite a few opportunities to shoot and then was put off. And then the one where Mulligan was in front of the goals but wasn't expecting it, but still managed to get his foot to it, but hit straight at the keeper. Smith had some excellent saves, which is good. Hanley had that clearance off the line, which is I'm really glad he did, but I just don't understand why he was playing, why O'Hara was dropped for him. I don't understand that at all. I realised they might have done it before, but I had never seen Alex Gogic playing in midfield before, and he had a good game, and he was actually quite threatening. Obviously, their goal, I think their goal was perfectly valid. I think that was a deliberate tactic because we saw them doing it twice. It was a deliberate tactic to play people deliberately offside, and the person that scored not. I'm sure that was a planned move. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Rocky penalty. The guy brought him down. The guy brought Rocky down when he was running towards the byline. Unfortunately, Rocky, I think, was anticipating and threw himself down. Otherwise, that would have been a penalty. But the one in the end was definitely a penalty, but we just didn't get it. So I think the most disappointing thing for me is that McGrath and Mulligan are not making the impact that I was expecting. So overall, just, it was such a letdown. It was really such a letdown. And I hope to God that we're not back in the same way that we were last season. And I'm hoping for a bit of injection from something, and maybe that would have been Lyndon Dykes, and maybe it'll be Joe Newell coming back. But we're missing the sharpness. We just missed far too many chances, and that's the thing that pissed me off most is the fact that we created lots of chances, but we just kept missing them.
How would you put that down to, Ian?
I think there's a lot to do with the fact that the players are not used to playing with each other. I think individually we've got really, really good players. The tactics obviously on Sunday, I'm saying we're wrong because we should have been going to the byline more. But I'm sure that the players are just getting used to playing each other. So, and I think they'll be great once they get going. And I think that Chaiwa and I think the Chaiwa, once he gets going, I think he's going to be a terrific player. And obviously Bowie was shooting blanks at the weekend, but I think they're still getting used to playing each other. So I don't think we need to do anything radical. I just think they just need to keep on playing together, and they're creating chances. I think the finishing will come. Obviously, people like Joe Newell and Josh. It's funny because when you think about the chances that that we used to score goals from midfield. I realised it wasn't very often, but there was always somebody who was able to hit the ball from the edge of the box and get a couple of ricochets off people, and maybe Josh Campbell, would have scored some of the goals that we missed at the Sunday. But I think they're just getting used to each other, and I think it will improve, Matty. But it was just miserable.
It was a bit, definitely a bit flat. That's what I thought of the game. Was just it felt like everybody was having a bit of a hangover from the for the European night on the
There's
Thursday.
no excuse for that. There's absolutely no excuse for that whatsoever. We've got really good players. We had rotation. They're all individually really good. We got the tactics wrong by trying to play long balls into the channel, whereas we've got the skills to play round players and had the players on the pitch to hit the byline and cut the ball back. The tactics are wrong.
Fair enough. What I'll do is I'll get some YouTube comments, and then Chris, I'll come to you. So we've got Ronnie who said, hi bangers. David said, good evening all. John said, evening bangeristas. Stevie said, evening all. Still got a European hangover. The St Mirren game is also still lingering. I predicted 1-1. V St Mirren has always seemed to struggle against them. And can someone tell me the difference between Boyle's offside for Bowie's goal versus Mitchelland and the St Mirren goal that was given at the weekend? Don't even start me on the handball comparisons. Callum says the argument was that Boyle attempted to play the ball and that impacted the goal. I still think some Mirren players impeded our defenders getting back, so I get your point. John said we're going to have days when we're just not on it, but if we can have a bad day and still come away with a point against a tough to beat team, I'll take it. Chris, what did you think on Sunday?
I thought, to be fair, I thought everything was flat. Performance, atmosphere within the stadium was flat. It was just one of the ones that was like a Sunday, and it was like everybody was just tired, flat, and was on that massive hangover. Performance-wise, I still think we've done enough to win the game. I think we've done more than enough. I agree with what Ian said about not getting to the byline, though, and we probably missed a beater for that, because a beater's one that will go to the byline and cut it back, whereas Cadden's a shield, bend it round a defender sort of guy. We didn't have the players on the pitch up front to be playing that sort of ball in. So I felt that we lost a wee bit of impetus with a beater. And I agree with Ian that a lot of the balls we were playing were for collegiate into channels. He was running down channels and literally just getting put into corridors. So it kind of stunted their attacking progress a wee bit. But again, we still had enough to win the game. I think defensively we're relatively solid against a big physical side. And I don't think we, like on Sunday, as David Gray said, I don't think we were overly big, especially in the middle of the park. It's something we've referenced before when we didn't have Chantis there, that we were missing that kind of bigger physical player in the middle of the pitch. And I still think we're missing that kind of thing. But as I said, we've done enough to win the game. Their goal, like, I'm trying to play over and over my head, and I'm like, I know people say Gogic isn't interfering with play, but for me personally, if there's a deliberate movement to move across the line of the ball, which he did do, fair off like offside position, then it's a deliberate tactic to interfere with play, because he's either got to take a defender with him, or he's actually getting across the goalkeeper's eye line. For me personally, that's offside before we even get to Iredale getting blocked off. Like, it might be a tactic and it's maybe a loophole within the laws of the game, but actually, so fair play to St Mirren for maybe exploiting it, but for me it's offside.
I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think there's a really good argument. I can't remember if it was Gordon Strachan. You know, when the sort of first change to offside to you had to be interfering with play, and I'm sure it was Strachan that said, if there's no interfering with play, what's he doing on the pitch? Like, and it's one of these ones where they've got, I think it's 2 or 3 players aside for the goal scorer who are in the sort of immediate vicinity of the goalkeeper, the 6-yard box, around that area, and maybe not necessarily in it. The keeper's got to weigh all these things up. When the ball's coming over, like, who's going to touch it? What's going to happen next? I just think it's when it's like that. I think it's difficult for the referees, because I think they get the steer as, well, what about the player that scored it? Was he onside? And he was. And did others try to play the ball? And I think if you go by that sort of guideline, then it probably counts. But I'm not sure the guideline's right. I think the St Mirren took advantage of it, but I didn't see how you can have players doing what the St Mirren players did and not be interfering with play.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I think there's a grey area there, which again, it'll come down to refereeing interpretation. Like, it'll be what they really want to interpret on the day, and ultimately, like, whilst we'll go into that set, we're obviously going to discuss the later controversy. And you absolutely fine well know when we get into discussing that, and when things come out about it, they're basically just going to go and say distance travelled, etc., etc., as their get out of jail free card. Obviously, I could go into a rant about VAR and the way around it, and I think my biggest issue with VAR is when they go clear and obvious error. I think when they introduced it, they should never have put that phrase in, because ultimately they re-referee games anyway, which they say they're not meant to do, but they literally do it. So let's just re-referee games and get the decision right. But if we take it back, as I say, to the performance on Sunday, flat, but more than enough to win the game. Personally, I didn't feel, and like, I know they had crosses into the box and some ones that sort of Smith pulled, sort of padded away and things like that. I didn't feel we were under any undue pressure. I felt we were still relatively in control of the game, considering it's St Mirren, and it was probably, for me, the worst team we could have played after the whole thing for Thursday night, emotionally, physically. I think it was the worst team we could have played, and we played the game relatively well and controlled it. So I think things bode well moving forward.
On the VAR point and that penalty, then, so the handball at the end. So you mentioned the potential mitigation is the distance travelled. It kind of flies in the face of what we were told with the Rocky penalty, though, isn't it? Like, if it's on target, it's a penalty, and that was almost like, no matter what other circumstances there are there, if it hits a hand, whether it's come off another part of the body, whether it's right up against them, or whether the hand's in a natural position, the steer was, if that's on target, is a penalty. Now, that ball was on target and it hits the guy's hand.
Yeah.
How can they not give that, Chris?
I like the thing. Like, I'm only spitballing this. I know that's what they're going to. That's going to be their get out of jail free card. You absolutely know it is going to be. The interesting, like, I think the only person I've seen that thinks it's not a penalty is Peter Grant, and his reasoning for it was purely bizarre. It was like he hadn't even watched it. But I'm going to be really interested to hear the audio come out on Sky Sports, when inevitably that will come up in the referee show, because I want to know who has made the decision, because we know who the assistant VAR ref was, and this is a man at Tynecastle 2 seasons ago that seen a clear dive, was told to go to the monitor, and still stuck to his guns, and over the period of probably 10 years has consistently given poor decision against us. And I think the club really need to hammer down on that.
I agree. I was going to say quite like VAR. That's like the wrong expression. I prefer to have VAR in the game than not. I think VAR fixes more than if we didn't have it, right? And we've seen it this season where even in the European game, in the last one, we would have went 3-0 down if it wasn't for VAR, because the linesman never picked up an offside. Against Partizan, we get a penalty that we wouldn't have got if it wasn't for VAR. We saw countless times last season where, in fact, go back to Tynecastle again, the Boxing Day or opening goal gets disallowed and VAR fixes it. Like, I think there's loads of instances where VAR gets it right, but then you have a game like Saturday, and you think, how, like, when they've got the chance to do it, it's like there's loads of folk who don't like VAR, and that incident does nothing to support the case for it, does it?
No, it doesn't. It just leads to conspiracies, and I think part of the problem is with VAR as well. Like, and I agree with you. I'm kind of in favour of VAR, because ultimately I want to see us get decisions right. But I think if we're taking it for a paying punter's perspective, we were all sitting leaving the ground going, where's the decision making in mind? As I do it every week. we don't know what the decision making is. Like we don't. I don't know. In the Premier League, they're starting to change that and talk through it like a bit like American football, and I think that needs to happen because ultimately we're the ones that are putting the money into the game, especially in Scottish football. It's the paying punter that's keeping clubs afloat ultimately. So why are we the ones that are punished?
Kept in the dark with it. No, I totally agree with that. What do you think of them talking through the decisions in England?
I like it because, like, obviously they don't always get them right because we've seen the one with Chelsea and Fulham at the weekend, but at least you can understand the reasoning behind it. Whereas we're all coming away from a game speculating what the reasoning behind it is, and then we've got to pretty much wait 3-4 weeks till the KMI panel releases their findings, and then we watch a referee show every month. Like, at least if they explained it, we could have some sort of justification, right, wrong, or different. So for me, I think it needs to come in.
I totally agree with you. John, you have your hand up.
In terms of the offside, I mean, one, I think Robinson and his team will have taken advice from a referee before setting up that tactic. Looking at the IFAB stuff, I accept that there's a question mark over whether one of the guys blocks, is it Iredale? I mean, which is less clear. In terms of the other ones, to be interfering with play, you've got to be preventing an opponent from playing the ball, challenging an opponent for the ball, clearly attempting to play a ball, or making an obvious action which clearly impacts on the ability. Now, it's that last one of making an obvious action. I would argue that running 4 yards offside, even though you don't jump up and try and header the ball, stops the goalie being able to come out and catch it, which is what Gogic has done. But this is where it'll be down to the interpretation, and this is where it'll be down to whatever referee St Mirren brought into the training ground to discuss how they were going to run the tactic, and saying how is that going to be interpreted by VAR, how's that going to be interpreted by the on-field officials, and that's how it's run. And I think we forget that there's the level of professionalism that's going to be put in the background of all these things. I mean, it's not just a lucky on the day and a couple of guys thought they'd wing it. This is properly thought out, and there will have been somebody who's been paid a couple £100 to be at the training ground one day while they're going through it. I mean, so it's just to bring that into that specific part of the conversation in terms of Gogic. I think it's wrong, but that's the blether that we're going to get.
How do you defend against it then? So, assuming that other teams are going to do this, what do you do? Do you just kind of park everybody on the goal line and run out?
I think that the challenge is going to be for Willie Collum and his refereeing team, because ultimately, if he turns round and says that that tactic is okay, then every team's going to have that running. And as soon as every team has that running, I mean, the ball hits the guy to go in. I mean, he's even obstructed in terms of seeing the ball coming over. I mean, because it hits him in his mid-drift and bounces. So it's that whole idea where, yeah, I think that the referees will find a way to start penalising it, because otherwise it's a bit like the other season we've talked about before, when if you pushed in the box, you were given a penalty away. It's like that sort of early season decision and interpretation. That's what I would expect to happen.
And what about the handball at the end? What were your thoughts on that?
I think we will be having seen it back. I'm in the Clancy's guy who turns up next Tuesday camp. I mean, if I'm brutally honest about it, we had the detailed descriptions of Craig Thompson and his litany against Hibs over the years. We have somebody else, and I think if we sat down and asked Willie Collum to say what do you have in place at the SFA that monitors for unconscious bias amongst your referees, you'd have nothing. So he wouldn't be able to tell you whether black players get refereed differently. He wouldn't be able to tell you whether Catholic teams or Protestant teams get done differently, because they simply won't look for it. And the reason that someone like Clancy can have that bias, unconscious or otherwise, that bubbles to the surface is simply because nobody's checking them.
It's a good point. I remember the chat about Craig Thompson as well, and my dad still beats the drum that he made a big post on Hibsnet about it with all the the
The example
stats.
from history is that the NBA in 2007 were challenged on the number of fouls that black players received compared to white players and shouted it down until they were hit with the stats, which showed that their referees were giving fouls against black players more than white. I mean, that's a very, very stark way. There was no suggestion that there was overt racism going on at all, but there was an unconscious bias that came through just in terms of how people perceive things. And Scottish football is torn down the middle by sectarianism, and it's wholly naive how we approach anything like that in terms of the unconscious bias side. Even if it's just the idea he's going to get Guff going to Tesco the next morning for his milk.
Mm.
So in fairness, I don't think Cater's Corner or the St Mirren fans are going to be chasing him.
Nah, I wouldn't have thought so. On the football itself, John, what did you make of the game? I'll stick with you now.
I'd agree with Ian. We made more than enough chances to win the game. I'd imagine that Hoylett is he's not having nightmares, but he's looking back on that going, how the hell? He's hit that ball 100 times in training and it's gone in every time. It's just gone 6 inches higher.
No with that foot though,
That goes
John,
in,
is
the
he?
game changes. Rocky's header. There's just a number, I mean, in the first half and in the second half. So we've created plenty of chances. I think our XG was fairly high, but they weren't on target. So if you get yourself into the positions, you've got to take the chances. And that's how I'd sum it up. Last year, we played St Mirren and got buried. At this time last year, we booed the team off the pitch. So again, it's another marker for the improvement. It's another marker in terms of the standards that we're setting. It is 2 points dropped, but tick the box, take the point, move on.
Fair enough, Colin. Did you have a question there?
Aye, nobody's left foot. Nobody's right foot. Like that chance, like it's taking it with the wrong side. He's just got to struck it in. Like he's made it look difficult.
It's not even just with his right foot. He's took it with the outside his right foot.
Aye, he's made it. It's like stabbed it. Like with the outside his right. It just looked all wrong.
To me, it looks like a player who's just got a skill set that I would never even be able to understand. Who's just naturally said, "This is how I'm going to hit it in," and that's how his brain is wired to just that. That's a skill set that he's got.
He used to work
when
on
he came off the bar, I was shocked like everybody else.
Get fixed before he's too. That's what he needs to
do. Jeff, I'll cover you next. What were your thoughts on Sunday?
Not unexpected. I probably would have taken a draw beforehand, knowing what St Mirren did to us last season. Seems to be our bogey team. I disagree with a few things that have been said already. They had to make changes. It was 120 minutes on the Thursday. It was 32 degrees and humid in the afternoon. I'm not sure what the temperature was in the stadium at night, but it wasn't far off that. I know they're professionals, but Bowie ran himself into the ground. You either start him and take him off at halftime, or hopefully get a lead in him. Don't play him at all like Livingston. So I was happy with the changes. The game itself kind of panned out the way I thought it would. The Hoylett chance came from a ball down the channel, which Boyle turned into a good ball and got to the byline and turned it back. So we did turn them a few times, just it didn't come to anything. We're not going to knock it up to the big fella up there because there wasn't one. And whenever we got the ball, St Mirren absolutely flooded the midfield, so it was very difficult to play through them. They completely nullified Chiawa and Levitt. And whenever Nicky Cadden or Chris Cadden got the ball, they made sure they got nowhere. So yeah, it was a difficult game. St Mirren came to win by a goal or get a draw. They were typical. I couldn't watch that every week. It was awful. But yeah, a bit of a hangover. But let's just think back to a few seasons ago when we were in Europe and we played 3 games. Not one of them went to extra time. Not one of them had the intensity of the 3 we've just played. And we didn't win a league game until after the Villa, when David Gray took charge and we beat Aberdeen. So let's put it in a bit of context. We've got a better squad now, I appreciate that, and better players. But there were 3 tough games. Extra time in the second leg of all 3. So, you've got to give the players a little bit of slack. Preparation for the game on Sunday. I don't know what time they arrive back on Thursday night, or it'll be Friday morning.
They travelled on the Friday, Jeff, I think.
Friday. So then that gives them Saturday, which is basically a recovery stroke. Let's get ready for St Mirren and then play. And St Mirren, somebody said it, it's the team you probably don't want to play after you've had a game like that in Europe away from home in that heat. So yeah, I thought it was fine. I'm surprised at some of the criticism of players. Hanley has picked up a bit of criticism in some of the group chats and what have you. I thought he did fine.
I thought Hanley was fine as well.
He's not Miller.
Issue with him.
He's not O'Hara. He doesn't get us forward as much, but defensively, he was sound. They're up against two big bastards up front for St Mirren, who will cause any team problems with the right type of ball. But yeah, they handled them well, apart from that one chance in the first half where they actually played some football, knocked it over, and the guy hit the shot first time, and Smith made a very good save, considering it was early in the game. So I just think we need to just take a step back, look at what happened a couple of years ago with less intense games, and we played St Mirren the first game of the season. That was when Big Will Fish should have pretended he was chased by lions or tigers or something. Motherwell away, they absolutely steamrolled us, and then Livingston at home, we all know what happened there.
Yeah.
So just I'm content. I'm content, as in I wish we'd won, and I don't understand the penalty decision. I've sort of looked at it. Somebody suggested it may have come off his chest first before it hit his arm.
That's the only explanation, Jeff. Isn't it?
That's the only one. But has anyone noticed the first penalty? The first handball, when the ball comes across for it gets to Cleege.
There's a handball.
It comes off his arm as he jumps for it. It comes off there. It's away from his body, and then it goes to Cleege, shoots, and then anyway. So I thought when Mulligan and Bowie came on, they looked like they were running through treacle. They did look like they were affected. Mulligan, especially, just couldn't get up to the pace of the game when he came on.
It's probably worth, like when we talk about the Thursday, Sunday, all the teams that played in Europe struggled at the weekend. So Aberdeen lost to Falkirk. Yep. Celtic and Rangers put in potentially the worst game of football that's ever been played. And we obviously didn't get the win against St Mirren as well. So I don't think any team that played in Europe covered themselves in glory at the weekend.
Yeah,
either. So
you're absolutely right, Matty. I mean, we forget that, especially if we got group stage, that potentially could have been the scenario up until Christmas. It depending on what teams have played and the intensity of the games. But I mean, we've had three absolutely roller coaster games in second legs, shall we say? Yeah, second legs. And it does take it out of you. And as fans, it takes it out of us. I was watching it on the telly. I couldn't even think about travelling. I was still gubbed from Poland. Absolutely gubbed. It wasn't safe to drive. But even just watching the couch, I was struggling to get up for it. So imagine the fans that were there. And I think we've been spoiled, I'm trying to say, by the intensity, the emotion, the performances. Take a step back. Except Sunday was not the best. We should have won it. Still, even not playing our best against a team that are going to take points off most teams in this league. Nearly took a point off Celtic at Parkhead. So, just the future's looking bright. I'm happy.
Good stuff. Right, Stephen, on to you next. Thanks, Jeff. What was your take on it?
Yeah, there's been a lot of excellent points already made. Green tile with Chris, it's probably the most awkward, and that's exactly what St Mirren are. They're an incredibly awkward team to play against. So Chris is right in that regard. I would agree with Jeff that in the cold light today, a few months from now, we'll probably look at it as a good point and try to pull the positives out of the somewhat negatives. That's 2 home games, 2 points. It's actually 4 points dropped, in all honesty, because we should have beat Kilmarnock with the lead that we had, and we had more than enough chances to bury the game on Sunday again as well. So if you go back to 12 months ago, that's a game that we absolutely would have lost, irrespective of playing on the Thursday night in Europe. That's the game we would have lost. We failed to take chances. We conceded with, St Mirren's second attack, well, even if you regard a set piece as an attack. So I'm the same as Jeff. I was at home. I was watching it at home. You could sense it was flat, but St Mirren at home versus Leggy at home, I can understand entirely why it was flat. And certainly if there was the 1,700 or so or 2,000 or so that were over in Warsaw less than 3 days before, fair play to Jeff for admitting that he was in no physical state to even get there. I would imagine there was a few that were in no physical state to be there, even though they were there. So fair play to everybody that went. It's just one of the ones where 5 points out of a possible 9, considering we've played Dundee, Kilmarnock and St Mirren, you probably would be looking for more. But when you caveat that against and it's 6 really difficult games, because 3 difficult games away from home that we've done remarkably well in, 3 home games as well where we've drew 1 and lost the other 2 in the 90 minutes. I think when we look at it, I predicted if there was more than, I think I said, and I said a few things last week that were brought back to haunt me. I said if there was more than 1 change, I'd be very surprised, and it was 5. And I actually thought, considering, and I put this in the comment on Twitter, Matty, to the podcast, said that considering the number of changes, the apparent disruption that would probably cause, because David Gray doesn't like to make a whole host of changes for league games especially. I think, in all honesty, it's probably a point that, yes, would have liked 3, but same with Jeff, it's not the worst point in the world.
And it's, I suppose it's that sort of platform to go on. So to take Jeff's point, comparing it to the last time we were in Europe, and you're 3 games in with 0 points. This time we're with 5 points, I think. Is it? Yeah. 5 points. So we're better off. We don't now have that excuse or mitigation that we're going to have huge Thursday night games. So would you expect now to see a sort of an almost immediate improvement in terms of the points return, Stephen?
I would certainly hope so. I said a few weeks ago, the experiences that the European run's given players, you would like to think that that's exactly what they want to have season in, season out. And the only way we're going to get that is through a high league finish or, a good cup run. The cups, whilst we've got the quarter-final against, the last 16 against Rangers in a few weeks' time, the Scottish Cup doesn't obviously start until early next year. So you like to think that would be the impetus for the players to move forward. I'm pretty sure our next league games at home as well, so that would be a chance to be 8 out of a possible 12, which I think, wouldn't be the worst start in the world. Well, obviously we're not making ridiculously outrageous claims like we're going to challenge for the league and things like that. So I think 8 out of 12 would be a good return. And this is where you try and look at the positives of no longer having Thursday, Sunday. Somebody had made a point earlier that all the teams that were in Europe struggled, and I think Aberdeen, I'd said that they'd be close for third or close for top 4. I'm not sure they will be. I think they are an absolutely dreadful football team, and them having Thursday, Sunday means I think the top 4 is almost stuck on. It's just whatever order you want to put that top 4 in. I think it's the big question.
Nice one. Okay, I'm going to bring in new again, grandfather Joe. Joe, congratulations.
Thank you.
What did you think on Sunday?
Well, regular viewers of Loggenbangers might be surprised to be agreeing with everything Ian's just said, and that's not just because he bought me a pint in the Hibs club before the game on Sunday. But basically everything Ian said was spot on. The only player he didn't mention in his review was Clitty, who I think is going to be I'm almost glad that we didn't get Lyndon Dykes, because I think he's going to get more starts. And if you think about it, he's had 2 starts, and in my view, he scored 2 goals, because although Rocky got credited with the goal on Sunday, that was going in anyway before Rocky just edged it over the line. And I think Clitty is going to be our star man for the season. Last year, I was telling you how I fancied Dylan Levitt. Well, this year, my player of the season is going to be Clitty, and I think he'll get more chances. Take a step back. We've done brilliant in Europe, although we got knocked out. The second half against Legia Warsaw is the best I've seen Hibs play in my 60-odd years of following Hibs. They were terrific, and although the result didn't go our way, so there was bound to be a hangover on Sunday. But if you step back and look at our first 4 fixtures, Dundee away, and Kilmarnock, St Mirren and Dundee United at home, you're expecting to take, 10 points out of that? Now we've got a chance for maximum weight. We really must beat Dundee United next weekend for sure. But I agree with what's just been said. We need to play with a settled team and give the new players a chance. We can't do chop changing. Now's the time for David Gray to say, right, that's my best 11. Yes, I'm going to change a few of them after 60 minutes, but let's see him start with a team that he's going to keep for the next week's game against Dundee United, the week after that against Rangers at Ibrox, and so on, because we've got big games away coming up, Rangers away, Celtic away, and Hearts away. So I think we've got the semblance of a really good team. It's just unfortunate that we've dropped all these early points with these relatively easy games, in my view.
Mm-hmm. And what did you think of the referee decisions that we were talking about, Joe? Particularly the penalty, I think, is the one to focus on.
I mean, it was a penalty. In anyone's book, it was a penalty. And it just complete referee bias, in my view. And that's not just because I'm a great Heidi. It was a a straightforward penalty. But you're going to get decisions like that going against you. As a few of my colleagues and long bangers have just said, we had chances to win the game earlier in the match. And we were just tired and not sharp. And that's probably because of the 6 weeks of Thursday, Sunday, and going to extra time in the 3 second leg games. It was bound to catch up. And I'm almost glad that they were out of Europe, to be honest with you. Because it gives, the nucleus of that team, 5 of them are new players. Excuse me. So it gives the team a chance to blend, and there's still plenty of time to make that third spot in the league solid for ours. And who knows, we could still get second.
Mm-hmm. Stephen, you get your hand up. Joe, I'll come back to you just a second.
Can I just chime in? Right? Why do we keep talking about second, right, rather than first? Like Celtic, that's what you read on like the message boards and that. It's like it's either third or second, like, but nobody ever goes like it's like the Celtic are that far ahead. Like the Rangers, we saw on Sunday, they were shite, and you go, well, if you can catch Rangers, you can catch Celtic. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should say we're going to win the league, because I think third is the best we'll get, because I still think Rangers and Celtic will be consistent enough to get enough points. But when folks say let's try and split the old firm or finish second, you're like, well, why not just fucking jump both of them?
You've got to go back to the mid-1980s to find somebody who did it.
I know, but they're both shit this season, aren't they?
But that's where the mindsets come from. There's a few of us who remember the United and Aberdeen teams from that era. Unfortunately, a team blew it in '86 to continue the run.
Unfortunately.
Stephen, on you go.
Yeah, just very quickly on Colin's point, it's whoever's behind Hearts will finish second this season. If you listen to what they're saying,
look at the bookies.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've seen something crazy. They're 10-1 to win the league or something. What the? Who?
The bookies believe in Tony Bloom, mate. That's why that is.
What crystal meth have they been smoking? Jesus Christ.
Bloom's put $1 million on it. That's all. That's what it was.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say, Matty, I'm pretty sure on Sunday for the penalty for the handball, they looked at it for about 2.5 minutes and still didn't send the referee at the monitor. And the point I was going to raise is how underused an option that is to send the referee to actually have a fucking look at it. Because if he had looked at it, I can guarantee he would have given it. And how can they look for 2.5 minutes and say,
no?
Basically, you'd like to think that the 2.5 minutes consists of the VAR telling the referee what the VAR's seen, why he thinks it needs to be looked at, and then probably suggesting go look at the screen. I'm all right, thanks. I'll pass.
I know.
How can it take 2.5 minutes to reach that decision?
Having watched, and he'll probably say the same because he watches more than me, but the VAR programme that Willie Collum does, it depends on what the ref's already seen. So if the ref's seen it and went, I've seen it hit his hand, I think it's a penalty, and they go, I did hit his hand, then they can't send him to the monitor because they go, well, he said that's what he saw and he doesn't think it's a penalty. They're not allowed to then overrule the ref. It's fucking madness of the rules. It's not. Yeah. They should give them more power, but people want to give them less power.
That's where the whole phrasing I have a right fucking issue with is the clear and obvious error nonsense. Mm-hmm. See, as soon as they brought VAR in and says it's only be used for clear and obvious errors, yet they don't. They only put the clear and obvious in when it suits their narrative. Like, taking it nice to come out of it. Either it's you re-referee the games or you don't.
I think you re-referee it. I'd go re-referee. Yeah, because they've got a better view. They've got more angles. They see it more times. Mm-hmm. Let them actually say you're wrong, rather than say, by the way, you said that. We've seen something different. You know what I mean? It's a lot of shite. Like giving the ref that sole arbiter stuff.
I think even giving the referee the power to go and say, Kim, I think I got it right, but I want for my own. Irrespective of what VAR are thinking, I want to have another look at it myself because I might have got it wrong. And just give them the power to go and actually, I want to check it myself without somebody saying.
There'll only be 2 teams that the referee went to the monitor for, and the reason is because how much has it been mentioned this week? It's not been in the papers for 5 days. Do you know what I mean? Like the media will sweep it under. There's been a few of the podcasts I've seen, the Premier Sports podcast bring it up, and Alan Hutton was laughing about it, but. That'll be it now. That's over and done with. Whereas, see if that was one of the 2, it'd be in the paper for the next 10 days.
Aye.
Did you see the Sky, Derek Gallagher?
He didn't comment on it. He basically just shut up.
it was ridiculous. He said he basically explained the decision was happened at full time, so they needed to make the decision before the players left the field. That was his analysis of the incident, and that's like, how does that help anybody? It's a complete fucking farce.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Do you think because they've signed up Willie Collum to go and do this show for Sky, that was him just not cutting Collum's grass before he gets a chance to go on these new programme?
nah, because he's hopeless. He's been hopeless for years.
He's shite,
aye.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You wonder how he made a career as a referee. Eh? Like when you hear him,
Because he's hopeless.
aye.
No, you didn't wonder.
That's the answer. Joe, I was going to come back to you. You mentioned about being happy or potentially seeing a positive in London Dykes not signing because it gives Clegy a bit more of an opportunity to play. Potentially, the transfer window closed, but it had Dan Barlaser sign on loan from Middlesbrough. Were you happy overall with how the window went?
Yes, I'm happy with the window went, and the Daniel signing right at the end of the close of the window could be a good one for Hibs. A number 6. The guy's got a pretty solid track record, and having him as a potential number 6 might allow my pal Dylan Levitt to play a bit further forward, because he's a real star in the making, as Ian's agreed with me for weeks now. The whole window's done well, but we don't have this Sunday, Thursday thing now. I think it's an ill wind that we're out of Europe. So we need to play a settled team and keep starting more or less the same 11 or 12 for the next 6 weeks, because we've got a lot of hard games coming up, as you'll all agree. Starting with Dundee United at home. But I mean, really tough games, Rangers and Celtic away, Hearts away. You know, we've got to really be on song, and we've got the team and the players to be on song.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think this team rise to the big games as well, though. That's what we saw in Europe. These games should hold no fear for us. Ian, I'm going to get your thoughts on the squad in just a minute. I'm just going to catch up on some of the YouTube comments. So David said, can't see Newell getting back into the team. Sandy said, Ian's correct, need to beat these teams despite the terrible handball decision. Ronnie asked, does Ian think we're missing Miko? So I'll get your thoughts on that in a minute, Ian. Kenny said, not beating St Mirren for 2 seasons and 8 games now. Jason said, we're robbed by a cheat. B Flat Bill said, if Chris raised the seat a wee bit, you'd have a perfect set of horns. Iredale's arms would do the job there. John McGlynn said he thought you had a Viking hat on. Me said Ronnie, Miko and Bowie playing together would have been great. I think there's a comma should have been in there. Right, and then Ed McBain says Gogic is 100% interfering by distracting the keeper. Not a grey area for me, a shocking decision. Also noticed the whole Hibs team react by going to the ref that it was offside. Right, Ian, the squad after the transfer window's closed, what are your thoughts, and are we missing Miko, to answer the question?
That's a joke, yeah. We're not missing Miko. We're missing we're not missing him at all. Well, I think we should bring Quan back. That was a big disappointment, the fact that we lost him. I think I said before, I think at the end of last season, you asked the question about the squad. And I said, and that was assuming that we could hold on to everyone we had and get Triantis back. I said if we got Triantis back, then I'll be happy recruiting nobody else. So I think our squad is brilliant. Our squad is very, very good. We've recruited very well. I have no idea what Barlaser brings at all. I mean, he looks like a really ordinary player who's played most of his games at a league that I wouldn't be in the least interested in. I think the most exciting thing was the fact that Dwight Gale made a nice gesture by texting him and saying it's a great place to go. But no, I think the squad we've got is terrific. I really do. But we're just not good enough. I mean, mediocrity with the squad we've got, mediocrity is just not good enough. And that poor performance on Saturday, because it was a poor performance, that'll impact the match ticket sales, because we must have sold like loads of tickets to people that haven't been for years. We know that, but I mean, because we actually sold out, which is terrific. And I think the poor performance, because even though we got the Dunbar end, we actually got quite a number of people in there on for St Mirren, which is amazing. So I think poor performance on Sunday will impact match ticket sales. To what Jeff was saying there, I mean, we got behind the defence once in the whole game with that Boyle cross and to create that sitter, which Hoylett missed. So our expectation should be that mediocrity is not good enough. We have to beat Rangers at Ibrox, or we'll completely lose the momentum that we've actually built up. So the squad is fine. It's strong enough. It's the strongest I've ever seen. But the performances and the finishing has to just improve.
Hello, Jeff, you get your hand up?
Yeah. Ian, you use the word mediocrity. Mediocrity.
St Mirren is mediocrity to me.
Well, no, mediocrity is what we suffered the last couple of seasons. That wasn't mediocre it was mediocre. If you compare it to what was in Europe, you could say it was mediocre.
Yes, that's what I'm comparing.
A very, very good St Mirren team, well organised, on the back of a really tough trip away. I disagree that it was mediocre. It was disappointing, and the atmosphere was flat. I appreciate all that, but it wasn't mediocre. We should have won.
Well, Celtic
coming and spanking our asses 3-0.
Yeah, but Celtic, okay, struggled to beat St Mirren. As Colin just said, Celtic are shite just now, right? Yeah. To me, St Mirren are a mediocre team, and we should be beating mediocrity. So that all the excuses we came up with for shite against playing crap against Dundee and Livingston and scraping through and against Killie, these are all mediocre teams. We have to consider ourselves.
But Ian, we didn't play shite against Dundee and Livingston. We won both those games.
We played shite against them.
But we didn't play shite. I've been at Livingston when we played shite. I've been at Dundee when we played shite. Those were
with the squad we've got.
They're not up to the standard that we had in Europe or some of the games last season. But I think we're being a bit down on ourselves here. I don't say mediocrity, but
but it's not good enough.
That's a tired team. He's made changes to try and save the legs. David Gray won't be making a lot of changes throughout the season unless he's forced. He showed that last season. This was forced on him because of the circumstances of Thursday.
Okay, Joe, there's nothing wrong with making the changes. Absolutely nothing wrong. We got the tactics wrong on Sunday, and we had enough players. We had more than enough players in our squad to beat St Mirren, and we should have beat them. Our finishing was not good enough. St Mirren are a representative of mediocrity in Scottish football, and so we came down to their level.
Yeah, I think St Mirren's a good side, right? But I get your point, because the finishing wasn't good enough. Like, was they now we never went into it because folk don't like it, but the XG on Sunday was like we were miles ahead of it. Like, it was 3 points something versus one. Yeah. We just never took our chances. We had chances and we never took them, and that's what cost us. But it is St Mirren are a decent side, probably maybe finish top 6.
We probably did miss Miko at the weekend. The much maligned Miko who scored a hat trick, I might add, at the weekend.
He did.
Joe, you put your hand up in amongst all that. I'll bring you in now.
Yeah, at risk of being boring and agreeing with Ian, and also agree with what Colin said, the issue is we've got to stop losing goals. If we can keep some clean sheets, we'd see a hell of a difference. If you look at the last 3 league games, we've lost goals in each of these 3 league games against relatively mediocre teams. We really need to build strongly from the back. That's why I'd like to see Hanley a regular in the team, personally. Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Okay.
It was 2.42 versus 0.84
for the XG.
Aye. So I thought it was 3. I thought I saw 3 somewhere, but aye. I mean, that's still a big gap, big gulf, which suggested the dominated game had better chances, and we just didn't take them, and they took the one they got.
Chris, you've got your hand up.
Just a kind of point on the squad. I was reading something today how I think it was in the Observer with David Grace talking about Chaiwa and how he's not your number 6, and I'm kind of looking at it going, so if Barlasser's come in, he's the number 6. Chaiwa's not the number 6. We've got Levitt, who's not a number 6. I'm just wondering, is Grace thinking the plan will be to move Mulligan? It must be to move Mulligan to right wing back. It has to be. Mm-hmm. Because the lack of bringing someone in would suggest that he's obviously got Megwa there as the backup. Mm-hmm. But I just wonder if Mulligan's going to go to right wing back as the drive for deep he's probably got a bit more quality in the ball than Chris Cadden. And I just wonder if that's going to be the thinking behind it. And then I think, I'm not saying Barlassa's coming to start, but I think there'll be a point where it's probably Barlassa and it's a choice between Levitt and Chaiwa. Because I think it's something we've noticed in Europe, that we've struggled for legs in the middle of the park at points and we've left big gaping holes. So I think that Levitt struggles to get out the park a bit.
There's a perception of that because he gets subbed early a lot, I think. But do you think we get hung up on the number 6 thing? Because see the midfield, they're meant to like rotate round, is my understanding, right? So my daughter plays in the 6, right? But she doesn't, because the 3 of them rotate round. So if somebody's not in the 6, one of them one drops into the 6, and one's in the 10, one's in the 8, right? And they just move round. So somebody starts there with that number on their back, but that's not how they're coached to play. So like, why do we go on about like needing a Matty Jack type or a Marvin Bartley type? Because we don't play with a 6. They all play in all the midfield positions. They just rotate around and fill the gaps.
I think we'll lose that a wee bit when we've got Hoylett in the team. So if we've got Hoylett in the team, we'll lose that. Whereas if we've got McGrath in that sort of 10 role, if you will, he's one that he'll get back in, and it's more natural then for them to rotate round. Whereas it's no more natural when Hoylett's here because he doesn't have the legs to get around the pitch.
Doesn't he get back enough to fill in this for the 6?
Chris, how do you assess the squad then at the end of the transfer window?
I thought, if I'm being honest, I think we've missed a trick moving on early to free up that striker position. I think we're obviously now, we'll probably end up, I think we still need to look for a second physical option, because I think we're putting an awful lot of workload on Bowie. And I can see him getting a big workload over the next week with Scotland. I don't think there's any question about that. And I think the worry is that we don't want to burn them out and pick up an injury. Like we obviously know he's come back for a couple of bad hamstring injuries over the last 2 years. We didn't want to overload him. Like, I would have been glad this week if he wasn't away with Scotland. So I think that we need to look at another physical option up front. But I don't know if the club will do it, because I think they were banking on Ellie moving on. So unless we can ship him to one of these countries that have still got their transfer window open, then I think we'll probably just
go with what we've got.
Mm-hmm.
I just say disappointed that you've immediately put the correct pronunciation of Barlasser in as well.
I know. I'm gutted at that.
Because we have to get to right now for everyone. That's it. I mean, Barlaser I was kind of hanging on to that for as long as I could.
Do you know what it is? It's because I got like last season, I obviously went and watched that league that Ian doesn't want anything to do with.
Fair enough. Stephen, name pronunciations aside, what do you make of the squad now the window's closed?
On the whole, I think it's been quite a successful window, perhaps with the exception of not getting Triantis back, although you can see where he's went, his ambitions, and clearly the funds required to get him would have been out of reach anyway. I think taking a step back, the squad is in a good place. My reflections from not getting Dykes is probably it would have been a really, really nice to have. We would have had 4 out-and-out strikers, and 3 and Boyle, although Boyle was getting played up front. So I'm with Chris. I do really, really worry if we get specifically Bowie injured, who we then have as a direct replacement for Bowie. And also, if you're then down to potentially 2 or 3 strikers, if you get another injury, you're absolutely screwed at that point. So I would also agree with Chris that I think emerging that it was based on wages is probably an indication that we were looking to move somebody on. You would like to think that probably was Ellie, based on the position in the pitch and also probably the salary that Ellie probably commands. So a wee bit disappointing not to get Dykes over the line, but generally speaking, I think it's been a pretty successful window.
Disappointed no move for Darryl Duffy?
I cannot believe the backlash that caused. I probably should. Actually, all week at work, I've been anything I've said at work and meetings and things. I've tried to add context to it so I don't get picked up on it. But yeah, that was a bit of a. Colin, thanks for having me back in the chat as well. I didn't quite realise that people would take everything so literally. But yeah, if you still, Matt, you're right. He's still playing, so he can still do a job.
Mate, you just need to read Hibs.net and that, and read the BBC Sports Sound thread. It's the same every week. Folk hear like a word and go, "Oh, fucking hell, they hate Hibs," and you go, "That's not what they said." Like the whole sentence was this.
Yeah, I've been seeing Darren Duffy. Is this another player we should remember?
It's
I've
another
seen
boy.
Daryl Duffy in my sleep. Every time I blink on it, he's haunting me now. After he haunted me when he played for Hibs as well.
John, I think I still get your view on the squad, so I'll get that. And Jeff, I think I need to get yours as well. So, John, I'll come to you first, and Jeff, I'll finish on with your opinion.
I think McGrath, Cleege, and Mulligan are the ones that sort of take the plaudits in terms of sort of the exciting ones, but re-securing Rocky, I mean, has been a big play this season. It feels like a very grown-up transfer window. I mean, we've moved players on who were brought in as projects. We've taken not necessarily bad characters, but people who would have been hanging around East Mains out the building. We've set up East Kilbride as one development team. I'd be curious as we look to do with somebody in the championship, because I'd like to get Rudy out because I think his game time is going to be limited and he looks good enough. Kanaya Megwa, I would expect to stay because I think we need that third player sitting on the right-hand side. Mulligan might finish games as a right wing back, but I'm not seeing him starting it very often. But no, we have strengthened right down the middle of the team. You bring in an ageing but still a Scottish international at centre back. We've brought in another goalie that again is bringing out the best in Smith in terms of trying to keep his place. We've strengthened the midfield and we've got a wee striker who's got a wee bit of bounce in his heels and loves a wee flick at the front post. I mean, at the moment, I would say that everything's looking good. Would Dykes have been a nice to have? Yes. It's a shame that it's fallen through. But Dwight Gale signed in the middle of September. I mean, there'll be somebody out there that they'll be looking at. They think they've got a space in their squad. I think it would have been nice to move early on. I love him to bits, but I think there's a point where it's all just fizzling out a wee bit. I mean, I think for both parties, it'd have been nice for him to move on.
Cool. Ian, you put your hand up.
I'll put my hand up just because I cannot remember any time in previous years where the squad has resulted in 9 of our players being selected for the squads for full internationals. I mean, having 9 players is spectacular. It shows the strength of the squad. Obviously, Junior Hoylett being back in the Canadian team, and the big disappointment for me, even though we've got 9 selected in their national squads, that Dylan Levitt didn't make it to the Welsh squad. But I'm very, very impressed the fact that 9 of our players are in national squads.
That's a great point. Jeff, last word to you then on the strength of the squad.
Yeah, somebody used the term, it was a grown-up window, which it certainly was compared to the shambles we've had for some years now. A bit hit and miss. Some have worked out okay in the end. Joe Newell saw him in his first game at Carlisle, went, oh no, if he's our left winger, left midfield, we're fucked. Good. Dykes, I went to bed thinking, I hope we get him. It wasn't a McCurdy one like a few years ago. Like we did need somebody, but he just might be the difference between a second and a third place, or a third and a fourth place, when we need just to disrupt the defence. Because he is what he is. You know, he's not perfect, but it would have been good. But yeah, good. I don't know if we've filled the Miller hole in the right centre half. O'Hara's done fantastically well, but he's not Miller. We're now saying, hopefully people will appreciate what he brought to us. I think it was a lack when he was here from a lot of fans.
Well, that was because he was a right back, though. Like, he hardly played right centre back. It was only the last few games that maybe caught part of his thing.
Maybe we should have put him there. I agree with you, Colin. Right centre back, he was fantastic. You know, really good, and going forward, disrupting, breaking the play up. And going
changed my mind on him.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. But he's always been an athlete. But the window is just. We look at McGrath, Mulligan, Cleege, and we've got Chaiwa, who's only played a couple of games, but that second half in where were we last week? Warsaw. I mean, what a difference he made when he came on. I mean, I don't know if it was what it was like on the telly, but there it was just like he took the game by the scruff of the neck. They could not lay a glove on him. He took them on, beat them, scored. So he could be the signing of the season. Could be. Early days, I'm not going to put too much pressure on him. So I'm happy. I still think they'll go out and get another centre forward in the Bowie type, Mikola, Lyndon Dykes mould. I think they'll find someone somewhere, like Dwight Gill last year, but not Dwight Gill, but someone a bit big and ugly.
The offence to Dwight Gill.
He's only wee and ugly.
No, Dwight Gill's not. Yeah, he's wee and ugly. I mean, I'm talking about somebody. Lyndon Dykes, big and ugly. Lyndon Dykes with the shaven head and the tattoos.
Yeah.
Not like he's now.
Right, I think that's probably as good a point as any to wrap up. We'll be back on Sunday. Colin will be joined by Edinburgh author Kevin Christie as well to talk about his new book and his time supporting Hibs. We'll have lots of Hibs chat in that episode as well, so looking forward to that. If you want to listen ad-free, you can subscribe at our Patreon or join the YouTube member section of the channel, and then you'll get all the annoying ads or us pitching bookies and stuff like that. So go ahead and do that. Check it out. There's chat rooms and stuff like that on the Patreon as well that you can
join us on a Thursday night.
Exactly. Good shout, Chris. You get to get the dial-in details for the phone in. Thanks everybody for coming on. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.